Hello, everyone, and welcome to LinkedIn Live. My name is Robbie Kelman-Baxter, and I am coming to you live from Menlo Park, California. First LinkedIn Live of 2021 for me. And I'm super excited about our topic today because we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is predictable cash flow. While cash flow forecasts aren't normally exciting, they are the secret weapon for subscription businesses that are successfully scaling. And Robert Scrobb is our guest today. And he was a CPA before he got into the world of direct response marketing for recurring revenue. So he can talk both finance and marketing strategy and really understands how the two come together. And what we're going to focus on today is why so many subscription businesses hit a growth ceiling, how to break through, what the right metrics are for retention, and the best time for churn interventions. And, hashtag pro tip, it's not when the subscriber is ready to cancel. That's probably already too late. Robert is recognized as one of the best member growth specialists in the world. He's spoken and delivered workshops in 5 continents, probably all pre-pandemic, I'm guessing. And then, it's interesting. I said he was he has a background in finance as well as in marketing. Accounting couldn't keep him. He spent a couple of months in public accounting and then moved into working with more than 47 associations, creating marketing campaigns for membership, conferences, sponsorships, and across different industries as well. Since then, he's worked with all kinds of subscription businesses, publishers, warranties, SaaS, coaching, subscription boxes of all shapes and sizes. So we actually have a lot in common, and I'm really excited to have him as a guest and to learn from him. And before I bring Robert onto the show, I just want to remind you that this is live. So that means that if you have a question or a comment, please put it into the comments section, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions that you have today. So without further ado, welcome, Robert.
Hey, Robbie, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you as well. What a treat. What a treat. What a great way to kick off 2021.
Absolutely.
It's been a rough year. Let's jump right in. In your excellent book, Retention Point,
thank you.
You talk about the single biggest misunderstanding that subscription companies believe. What is
Well, and I think it actually goes back to a point that you made in your book, The Membership Economy, which I absolutely loved, and it's an amazing, really a fabulous introduction and kind of like a rally cry, a manifesto for addressing consumer demand, and that was really one of the most important, I think, pieces of the membership economy to me was that this isn't, doing a subscription business isn't about getting rich quick or, making a fabulous business model. It really is addressing the consumer's demand and meeting the customer where she is rather than doing a business model or creating a product because that's what we've always done. And so really what happens though, Robbie, is after creating this membership business, so many membership insiders focus too much on their product. And they are product focused instead of consumer focused. And so they're all thinking about, like, how can I change my product so that improve? And they're thinking, the SaaS companies have this big product roadmap where they're coming out with new features. Subscription boxes are thinking, oh, well, if I just put this one more item in the box, or the retail value of this box is X dollars, so certainly that's going to improve churn. And like the whole point of the membership economy is to focus on what this member wants. And then all of a sudden we start focusing on our product and trying to tweak that and think that that's going to have any impact on our growth, retention, or any of those other numbers.
Can you give an example of an organization that maybe, what it looks like when you focus on the product versus what that same business might look like when they focus on the customer? Like maybe a subscription box example or a membership association example, product-centric versus a customer-centric approach.
Yeah, I think that the key is really what you're trying to pay attention to. And when you're looking at a customer-centric, you're looking at your numbers to see how customers are interacting with your product, how they are, what their retention rates are over time, and focused on, and even the feedback that you're getting from your customers versus looking at your product and tweaking your product roadmap. Working with SaaS companies, very often there are metrics of engagement and how they're opening and interacting with the product. And then more importantly, the money. Really one of the key measurements that I try to teach subscription businesses to focus on is your cash flow. And rather than thinking in terms of, okay, did they open the website? Are they engaged in using a particular product? Like, are they paying? Are they using what they've paid for? Are they engaged in buying more product from us? Are they paying attention to the upsells and buying at a decent rate? Are they engaged? Are they paying attention to advertisers that we have, and using the cash as your key metric as to whether or not your customers are engaged? They vote with their money more than anything else, and that's how you have to keep score of whether or not your customers are engaged.
Yeah, such a good point. There's a million metrics, and it's funny. I just got a note from a client who said, I'm sitting on so much data. I don't know what to do with it. There's so much information, but I don't know what to do with it, and I don't know what's most important. And I think you bring up a really good point, which is the most important thing is are people paying once and then many times for the value you're providing? And is the product not just worth paying for on day one, which is I think how a lot of organizations that are financially oriented look at their business, like what are our numbers today, but also what is that trend, the cash flow? It's not just about the cash, it's about, how does it flow? Is it predictable? Are we keeping the people that we bring in?
Well, and that's the whole benefit of, as a membership business, we are giving up a larger sale. Often we're giving up a large amount of cash flow at the beginning of our, because the initial transaction size is often smaller because we're doing a membership versus selling a product outright. So we're giving up a little bit of cash flow at the beginning with the idea that we're going to get cash flow on an ongoing basis. And if those numbers don't prove that that's true, then we don't really have a membership business. We just have a low margin product business. And what I see very often is subscription businesses, to the extent that they might have forecasts, they've changed their churn rates and they've changed their customer acquisition costs. So I'm like, well, why is it you think that your churn rate's going to go down from 15% to 12% and then to 10%? Like, what's going to change that's going to make your churn rate go, oh, well, we've got, usually it's always product focus. Oh, we've got this feature coming on our SaaS product, or we're going to do this, and so the cash flow statements all predict these, customer acquisition costs to go down, increasing the number of new customers that they're going to get, and then the churn rate going down that's going to increase their retention without really any basis for that. And so they're not understanding what's really going on in their business. They're just have these great predictions that they have instead.
What do you think drives churn rate down? What have you seen in your experience that actually, like, if it's not, adding that awesome new feature, what is going to drive churn rate?
The most important thing is continuing the promo with after they join. And most subscription businesses, when they get a new subscriber, they're off to getting the next new subscriber. And they are not properly handling the new subscriber relationship. And and that's fine as an attitude when you're just dealing with a product and you got a transaction and now you're moving on to the next transaction. But with a subscription, you got to see that first membership join as the opportunity to sell them into the second membership join, whether that's a month later or a year later, that your goal, that you really got to consider that as a lead for the next transaction and be selling them and reselling them on your value proposition, the outcome that you generate throughout that relationship. Otherwise, you're going to have a much higher churn rate.
Such a good point. When you said that, what it made me think of, we both spend a lot of time thinking about onboarding of new members.
Sure.
And what do you do after that moment when they give you that first tranche of money, when they sign up, to make sure, and I love how you said this, to make sure that they pay the second time. And, that's really what you're doing. And so in that first month, it's so important that you put the same amount of focus on getting them to stay as you did on getting them to come in the front door in the first place. So it's that first period where everybody on the team, so this gets to, from my perspective, this is a product issue as well as a marketing issue. So it's not just about me as the marketing person saying, rah, 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 welcome, please stay, we love you, use our products, look at our features. It's also about dedicating some of the product time, some of the product investment to engagement features, which are usually not very sexy. They're usually about the journey. They're usually about the in-betweens, the in-between the features. How do I get them from this feature to that feature? How do I help them recognize the value of this feature that they're already paying for? And a lot of organizations sort of feel like, well, that's the responsibility of the customer. I put all these great features into the product. It's up to them to find it. And if they don't, they're stupid. Right. I've actually heard, and I'm sure you have too over the years, companies and really smart product people say, we put these great features in, but people, they're so backwards. They can't find the features and they're so logically placed. I don't know what's wrong with these people. And it becomes our responsibility to make sure that our customers get the value that they're paying for, especially in month one.
And the challenge is that our customers are not stupid. It's just that they don't think about our product as much as we do. And so the things that we see as logical from their perspective, they're just kind of landed here into this world that we've created, and we've got to make it as easy as possible to navigate. And kind of one of the examples that in terms of this relationship is like the subscription box world. And some subscription boxes send a box immediately after somebody buys. Other times you're just kind of you're buying the next box that comes out. So it could be almost a month that until that next box comes out, and you're now on the list. And sometimes a little more if you join at the wrong time. And so there's this gap. And kind of one of my first mentors, Dan Kennedy, it's like, one of his communications is ideas is if we're only communicating once a month, then I only have one opportunity to retain them. And there's like 29 or 30 other days that they can think about quitting, and I'm not talking to them. And so, so that subscription box, it's got to be pretty darn good. And yeah, you have all the things in there, but maybe think about something more than just a postcard that you're sticking in there in order to build the value of those things. And the subscription boxes that I have the opportunity to work with, it's like, try to promote each item in the box as if you were selling it at full retail value. Like if I was going to try to get this customer who is getting this box to pay for it full retail value, what would I say about that product? What examples of of value building would I put in there? And so that when they get it, it's not just a box of stuff, but it's, oh my gosh, I love, they've got promotional material. You're building the value, and you're able to really help them appreciate what you're delivering versus, a sentence on a postcard that maybe has the logo of the manufacturer of the product that you're sending.
Yeah, it's really good. It's making sure that they understand the value that they're getting. And really breaking it down for the customer, I think is so important, and staying front of mind. Breaking it down, I think, especially you're talking about commerce boxes, subscription boxes. A lot of the subscription boxes is about the headline. Pay $19 and get $99 worth of stuff inside this box, but not enough about the engagement benefits. Okay, now I've got this stuff. How do I use it? How do I get value for what I've already paid for? So it becomes really important to not just think about what goes in the box, but spending some of the money, not just on what goes in the box, but on making sure people get value out of what's in the box, and that they feel, like you said, enthusiastic about their purchase. Like, hey, I did get really good value. I used all these products. They're really good products.
Totally.
And also looking more broadly at what other features you might introduce. So if it's a pet box, right? Certainly I love having all kinds of cool stuff for my dog. But it might be nice to also have some information about trends in pet care, or to meet with other pet owners who have similar challenges with their pets, or who enjoyed watching the Westminster Dog Show as much as I did and want to talk about it, or what have you. Looking for other options to expand the relationship is so critical to retention. And I know, something that you're an expert on and you've been spending a lot of time developing is this concept of breaking through the growth ceiling. And can you just explain, I think a lot of the subscription entrepreneurs that are tuned in probably have experienced this growth ceiling. But in case they haven't, can you explain what it is and why it's so important to focus on it and to have strategies to break through it?
Well, and if you're a Westminster Dog Show nerd and enjoying watching that's a particularly, you're in a niche of dog owners. So that's pretty awesome. I grew up going to dog shows, so I happen to know what that is. But the subscription growth ceiling is something that really nobody really talks about within the whole membership and subscription space. And all subscription businesses reach growth ceilings, and it's this phenomena where over the first year or two, the business is growing, and it feels like it's growing exponentially. It's a huge launch, and of course, the business owners are out there speaking, and they're talking about conferences about how amazing they are, and then like 2 years later, they're almost at the same level of growth that they were, of monthly recurring revenue that they were after 2 years. Like 4 years that did very little growth. It was all within the first two, and that's because the subscription growth by itself is logarithmic. It's not exponential. And so logarithmic growth is kind of like this, where it starts out fast and tails off, whereas exponential starts out slow and goes up quickly. And we talk a little bit about how to make it exponential, but it's just in the math. And it's an easy formula. If you want to calculate your own subscription growth ceiling, it's easy enough to do. And it's simply take I don't know if I can show this real quick, but it's simply take your number of new customers. Let me see if I can do this. This will fit in there a little bit. So the number of new subscribers divided by your churn rate equals your membership growth ceiling. And if it kind of makes sense, so if you're adding 1,000 new subscribers a month on average, and you've got an 8% churn rate, the first year, that 8% doesn't really add up to very much. But by year two by year 2 and 3, that now all of a sudden as you start to reach that 12,500 plateau, the growth really plateaus out, and it really looks more like this. And I can kind of go through this example, but this is 3 years of growth at 1,000 new subscribers a month with an 8% churn rate. And your first year is pretty awesome. The first 12 months, you go from 0 to 5, now you're at $592,000 a month of recurring revenue. The second year, the growth is good as well. You go from 592,000 up to 810,000, but then the third year plateaus quite a bit, and you go from the 810,000 to $890,000 as you start to reach that that ceiling. And it kind of makes sense if you really think about the numbers, because if at 12,500, that 8% churn rate is 1,000 people. So if you're losing the same number that you're gaining every month, you're not going to grow. And that is one of the real kind of core realities of the subscription business, is that they reach these ceilings, and you've got to put in plans in place and make the right moves, or you can run out of cash, because a lot of times you're growing and you're spending more in your customer acquisition costs than you're getting in your lifetime value. And if you continue spending that customer acquisition cost with that same lifetime value, you're going to run out of cash and the business is going to disappear.
Yeah. So a few things I want to tease out of there that are really interesting to me, and that are really helpful, I think, to people listening. One of them is that you don't feel the burn of churn, the churn burn, until that second year, right? Mm-hmm. First year you don't see, because nobody, people aren't leaving at the same pace. You haven't kind of reached that full year yet, so you're not really seeing it. So that's the first thing, is that everything looks better in the first year. Right. Even if your business is going well, you'll feel, you'll know whether your retention is working or not in the second or third year. The second thing.
Can I pile on that point, Robbie?
Yeah, you bet.
Because even in the first year, it looks like the churn rate is plummeting, because of course you have the highest amount of churn in the first, second, and third month. So as a startup, your first month of churn is the highest it's ever going to be, because you got your first month batch. And then as you have more members that have been around for 12, 13, 14 months, the overall churn rate actually starts like, it looks like it's dropping fast. Yeah. So you're like, wow, churn is declining, growth is going up, this is going gangbusters. So it actually, that first year or two, you're looking brilliant.
Yeah, because that's a really good point. So it's like it's that month to month improvement, and So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You feel no. It's I love I pile on all the time. My favorite kind of conversation. That's one really important thing. The second thing is this kind of point that you brought, and you made it very scientific, about the difference between acquisition and then the power of retention. And we saw this, I hate to pick on Blue Apron, but it was such a clear example of this. They were growing so fast because they were spending so much on acquisition. Mm-hmm. And people were staying for, let's say, six months or so. But the acquisition cost was actually, such that they didn't make a profit until the 7th month. So for 6 months, they looked amazing. But then in that 7th month, they were losing money on every new customer. So a second big takeaway that I have from what you said is that it's really important to understand unit economics. How much does it cost to bring in a new customer? And how much is that customer worth? How long do they stay? And if you look at that number, you'll start to see those arcs, those disappointing arcs that you showed. You'll be able to forecast that a lot more effectively if you understand what's happening with each individual customer. What's the likelihood of them churning in the first month? How long are they likely to stay? And how much did it cost to acquire them? And that will tell you how your business is going to do into the future. Now, I want to jump in a couple things. Number one, I see that there are people coming in, Paolo from Dubai, Hafiz from United Arab Emirates, Sarah from Colorado. So that's two out of 5 continents. So I'm wondering if there are people from other parts of the world that are listening. It's awesome to see you guys. And then I have a question here from Nicole Hendren. She says, great explanation on the math and why this happens. What solutions are there to deal with this reality? Keep increasing your growth goals? Or so Robert, what do you do when you realize that you are a victim to a growth ceiling?
So I'd like to answer that with a little more math, if that's okay. So kind of the first piece of cost payback period, and when you are acquiring a new subscriber, you spent an amount of money advertising, and then the initial transaction probably didn't recover the full amount of advertising spend you spent in order to acquire that new customer. And so it takes a number of months maybe to recover that acquisition cost. I've seen it in particular, like the SaaS, often it's 12 or 13 months worth of monthly payments in order to recover a customer cost in a subscription box. I've seen it 2.5 years businesses are operating. And also it's totally common to be 6 months, 8 months in order to recover the cost of acquisition cost. And this is particularly bad when you're doing some sort of discounted trial, maybe a $10 first box offer or a free trial sort of thing. That only accelerates this problem that, oh my gosh, we're getting so many more subscribers, but you still got to factor in your customer acquisition cost. So what this means is that over time, we're looking to recover that cost. And so we have what's called the CAC Payback Period, is the amount of time that it takes us to recover our customer. Now, most people think, okay, if our customer acquisition cost is $500 and our average revenue per month is $75, then what is our CAC payback period? Is it simply 500 divided by 75, so it's 6 2/3 months? Unfortunately not. What we have to do is actually look at our cohort analysis, and this is even more important than doing average lifetime value, which I see a lot, but looking at your cohort analysis, which is this analysis that shows how many of your subscribers paid in each month of their subscription. So month one, let's just say when they join, they're paying the subscription fee upfront in full. So they joined at $75, they came in, they paid $75. This is a very typical cohort analysis for a subscription business with an 8% monthly churn rate. Month two, you lost 22% of your subscribers in that first 30 days. So your churn rate month one is 22%. Month two, you go from having 100% pay down to 66%. That means your churn rate for month three is actually 12%. And then your churn rate for month four goes from 66 to 60. And so that's 6%. So even though we have an average churn rate of 8%, we actually see that much of that is front loaded in the first 2 or 3 months. And that, beyond that, month 5 to 6 is actually 4%, and month 6 to 7 is 3%. And if you have a churn rate of 8%, that means you're losing most of your subscribers on average after 10 months. So like you do the little math and you go, oh, wow, our average churn rate is 10 months. So our average life of our subscriber is 10 months. So we're going to do things at month 7, 8, and 9 so that we can extend that subscription beyond 10 months. Let's play that game. Well, what happens is if you actually do that by month 8, 9, you've lost 57% of your subscribers. And so your opportunity to improve your churn rate has really evaporated, because by month 8, 9, and 10, you're only losing 1 to 3% of your subscription at that point. So the key to realize is that churn rate is an average over all the months. And the key to improving churn is to focus on month 1, month 2, and month 3, because that's where all the money is made, and in the subscription business. And think in terms of that new subscriber being kind of a prospect that we're going to market to over the next 3 months. The other big key is because you're focusing on the first 2 or 3 months, you're able to measure the impact faster. Because instead of trying to manage that overall churn rate, that average, you're looking at month 1. You can say, all right, we brought in 1,000 subscribers in December. How many of those December subscribers paid in January? And then, okay, now we're going to implement these onboarding emails, and we're going to do this outreach call, and we're going to do this gift. Now we brought in 1,000 subscribers in January. How many stayed in February? In 30 days, you know whether or not your strategy to improve retention is actually working. And it might take 6 months for your average to change from 8% to 7%, but you can see with your cohort analysis within 30 days if you were able to impact that first month. And really, that's the biggest difference. So focusing, the number one, and also see what this does too in terms of your customer acquisition cost. If you're losing a significant percentage of your subscribers within the first 6 months, like if you're at 50% here after 6 months, only 50% of your subscribers now are helping you recover your customer acquisition cost. And so you brought in 1,000 subscribers, but now only 500 of them are continuing to subscribe and help that CAC payback period. If you can improve the subscription rate for month 1 and 2 and keep maybe 65%, you're going to be able to get your customer acquisition costs back faster. So rather than spend $500,000 and it taking 12 months to get it back, if you can get that back in 6 months, now instead of, $12 million of marketing expense, because you have, in order to recover, you spend $500 a month and it takes 12 months to get it back, you need $6 million of marketing spend out there in order to continue growth. Instead, you only need $3 million because you got 500,000 out there anyway. So I've got a little in the weeds there, but focusing on so those are the things of your cash flow forecast that you're looking at, and focusing on those first couple of months is the key to improving your retention rates overall.
Yeah, I think that was the main point. So the main takeaway from that little mini lecture on CAC is and I think really important, Nicole, is that the first few months are what matters most. It's not about investing in growth, and I think this is a big mistake that a lot of organizations make, is that they say, oh, we're hitting a ceiling, we've got to pump more in at the front end. And what I think Robert is recommending, which I think is spot on, is you've spent all this money to bring them in, and now it's going to cost you just a little more effort in those months 1, 2, and 3 to make sure that they stay. And that's really the single most powerful lever that most organizations have to improve retention, to improve lifetime customer value, and to ensure that the people that come in the front door are going to get the value that they paid for.
And if you don't mind me piling on that point again, you're in the first few months of your subscription, it actually teaches you that subscriber growth is the key lever. And so as a subscription entrepreneur, you're trained, oh, look, go get new subscribers, look how fast my growth is. And it's not till year 2 or 3 where that ceiling sets in that it actually becomes apparent that the key to growth isn't adding new subscribers, but keeping them. And the key,
Yeah.
and then
That's the money point. It isn't adding new subscribers, Nicole. It's keeping the subscribers that you have as you bring them in, and having predictable, expectable retention is the secret, I think, to having a successful membership-based business. We have another question I just want to jump to before we run out of time.
Sure.
This one is, and I hope I'm getting the name right, Sinar Fidan, saying, what other metric can I use to see if churn decreases without waiting for 6 months?
And I think the key is the cohort analysis. And if when you look at the cohort of you implement a new strategy in January, you run your subscribers through it, for a month, you should be able to see a difference immediately. Like the end of February, being able to measure the impact. When you are trying to go out 6 months and factor in that average retention rate, it takes, especially after you're large and maybe you've got tens of thousands of subscribers. I've had subscription businesses that literally have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and we can do a lot, and it doesn't impact their average retention rate or churn rates that much, but we can see immediately in the acquisition side and the cohort analysis what we've implemented and how it's improved the very next month, the retention rates.
Yes, absolutely. Look at month 1 retention rates. If you're doing great, if the example that Robert gave with the 22% drop off in month 1, if that's you, and you can go from 22% to 15% to 10% on that month 1 retention, you can rest assured. And Robert, tell me if you agree or not. That I believe that's going to play out across the full lifetime value. It's if you make a difference in month 1, it's going to trickle through the rest of the months. So if you're kind of overwhelmed by data and you're like, what is the one thing I can focus on? Focus on month 1, focus on month 2. And if people are engaging and paying that second, third, fourth period, they're probably going to stay a lot longer, because as Robert pointed out with his data, every month after that, the retention is going to be much, much higher.
Absolutely. I've seen that play out over and over again, that if you only focus on month 1 and 2, that the rest of the months will take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's also true, Robbie. I actually learned this lesson with annual memberships in the association world. I know that you've done a ton of work in speaking in the association space, and that was really where I learned all this, was annual memberships, and that I figured out that waiting until 10 or 11 months and sending a great renewal package doesn't cut it. That you have to start immediately after you get a new member for the renewal. And once you get, because you'd have in the association space, 87% retention is kind of the industry average that all the surveys kind of point to. It varies, but like 87% is the average retention rate. But when you dig into the numbers, what you find is that first year retention is more like 60 to 65%. Yes. And then 2, 3, 4 year retention is way over 90%. And that by focusing on that first renewal for the first year of the subscription, membership, you're going to have a much higher impact than trying to wait 11 or 12 months to get that person to renew.
Yeah. So two key points here. One is if you're going to focus somewhere on retention, the number one thing that you can do is focus on the first period. Get them to make your product or service a habit in the early days, and the rest of retention will fall into place. And I think the second thing that Robert brings up is that for those of you that are on an annual cycle, don't wait until month 11 and a half to start encouraging them to renew. You want to build those habits at the very beginning. My friend Lisa McLeod always says there's a half-life on enthusiasm, and people are at their most enthusiastic right when they're pushing the buy button. So that's when they're focused on your offering and they're ready to engage, that's when you want to onboard them. And you want to really focus on giving them the habit that they're gonna continue to use your products and services. And that will make it so much easier, whether it's in month 2 or year 2, to keep them. And both of those things will have a huge impact on, your overall that lifetime customer value metric, which, as Robert pointed out, it's a really hot metric right now. It's really popular, but it's really misleading, and it makes you do the math maybe in the wrong way and come to the wrong conclusions. I have one more question. Let's see. I have a comment from our mutual friend.
Oh my goodness.
Debbie
Oh,
Phillips, who's awesome.
she is amazing.
Hello. I love what Dan Case says, but I find it annoying when membership organizations reach out day after day after I join. On average, how many touches in that first month or two?
Debbie, it's wonderful to hear from you. I hope you're doing well, and look forward to chatting with you again soon. I think the key is that when you get communication from a dear friend, like, I know that your Women on Fire customers actually hear from you as often as daily with your videos. And I happen to know one of them actually lives here in my home who enjoys your videos and watches almost every single one of them. And when your communication is when your communication is welcome and is something that that improves the day of your member, then that's something that they can't get enough of, right? They could probably, Debbie, you could probably send out 2 videos a day, and that would be even better than one. Not that I'm recommending that, of course, but so I think that's the key, is that the communication needs to be about the member, and it needs to be something that kind of, as Robbie hinted to, that actually increases the excitement after they join than when they press that buy button. So that after they become a member and they hear from you and they get more excited on day 2 because of what you sent them than they were even when they joined. And that each day actually improves their relationship to you and how they feel about the community. And I am not against sending communication on a daily basis. In fact, there's a lot of companies I work with that we actually do implement a daily communication that's scripted and choreographed for new subscribers, and that we actually seen that have a tremendous improvement on month 1 retention. It's that needs to be about the subscriber, and it needs to be something that brings them joy to their day, versus something that's about them, about me, like, hey, use this feature, or log in here, or buy this other product. It needs to be about them, Debbie. That's wonderful to hear from you.
Yeah, it's such great points. And what I think people sometimes miss is that there's a distinction. There's different kinds of communication, right? There's a communication that says, thanks for buying, please buy more, which I honestly have gotten at the end of the year from all the places that we donations to. Literally, we make a donation of, let's say, $100, and we get a note right back that says, we need more money. Please send us $5. And I'm like, I just sent you $100, which was a big donation for me. Now you're asking me for $5, like the same day. So it's all about the context. It's about whether it's a marketing message, like a please do more, we need more, join us, versus a value message, like like the videos that Debbie does for her members, that's actually the value. John Lee Dumas started his Entrepreneur on Fire offering, the podcast and his program, because he couldn't find an entrepreneurial program that was daily. And when he was starting as an entrepreneur, he wanted a daily dose of enthusiasm. So if your content has value, every day might not be enough. And if you're asking for more, if you're marketing to them, once a month might feel like too much.
Totally.
One more question, and then I think we'll wrap up. This is from Randy. Hi, Randy. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to see you. Without compensation, what are good ways to get members to refer others? So this is something we haven't really talked about, but the power of referral within a membership organization. How do you do that, Robert?
Well, of course, in the association world, get a member campaigns have been, a core staple of the entire industry, and this was well before the whole transactional idea that we have to give them payment for generating a subscriber or a member. It was like they would be offended if you tried to offer them money or some sort of referral fee for acquiring a new member. They were doing it because they believed in the product, and they couldn't imagine somebody who would not want to be a member of the organization. And so, this idea of Dan Kennedy, as Debbie had mentioned, the Dan K, and this "sell it by zealot" was a term that he coined about this idea, and that that having the subscriber have so much excitement over what you're delivering and the relationship they have to the product and how it improves their day, that they want to recommend and share. The subscription box industry is probably the best at this because the whole unboxing video, that thing that's become a phenomenon, and you can just go to YouTube and just type in Ipsy unboxing, and there will be millions of videos of people sharing what they got in their Ipsy box. And beyond that, I think the key is that you are making the expectation of what we do around here is invite other subscribers to join, and that part of the community, part of your membership is certainly there is an ongoing investment, and part of the investment is sharing with others this experience. And that you are communicating that within your media, you are inviting them to participate, you're making it easy for them to subscribe, and it becomes part of the culture of this movement, of this membership, that we refer and invite other people to what we're doing around here. Because why not? You would want to give your friend this gift of being able to participate in this membership, wouldn't you? Certainly, Women on Fire, Debbie has that relationship where, absolutely, wouldn't you want to share this with other women that you know, so that they can enjoy the inspiration and the great feelings they have as a Women on Fire member?
Yeah, great points. To summarize, I think number one, be careful about paying people for referrals. That can be powerful, but that is not really a referral. That is an affiliate program, and that is that person's job in a way that they make money. I mean, it is. It's just a different thing. Referrals are when somebody does it because they believe it's truly in the best interest for the person they're making the referral to, and it makes them look good. If I tell somebody about a best kept secret, for example, about a sales community like Randy runs, that'll help people be more effective in selling, and they say, wow, that's a really good community, and Robbie was an insider, she knew about it before I did, maybe that puts a little glow on me as well. So creating the culture of, we share, we don't want to be a best kept secret, we share this with our friends. The idea that bringing in other people makes it more valuable to me, which is something that LinkedIn does really well. Like, what's the point of having a community of my peers if none of my peers are there? In the early days of LinkedIn, I was, rallying everybody to join because that's how I was tracking my contacts. So those are some really good ways. And the last thing is build it into your product. Like, I am shocked by how many companies don't make it easy to make a referral. Like, you have to do it yourself. You have to pick up the phone or send somebody a message. There's no hit this button to send an invitation to your friends. And so make it easy for people to make referrals.
Totally.
Let's see, we talked about, I'm just going through my notes here because this hour has gone by so fast. I want to make sure people can find you. So could you, share a little bit about, where you are and how people can best connect? How do you like people to connect with you and learn about your growth ceiling work and your retention work and all of that?
I worked this Christmas on a video series of that kind of breaks down. There's one video talks about the ceiling and how to overcome it. The next video is this CAC Payback Period, lifetime value, and then the third video are the 5 keys to break through the subscription growth ceiling. And we've talked about one of the keys here, which is retention. But 10xmembershipgrowth.com, I think, is the easiest way to get that free video series and really get an understanding of how to use these cash flow forecasts. That's the other piece of this that we haven't gotten to is once you've gotten that month one retention from, say, 72% to 80 or 85%, how that relates to your cash flow, and to that, these video series get into that and try to make it as simple as possible. So that's probably really the easiest way to jump in.
Perfect. So I put that into the ticker that's running across the bottom of the screen. That 10xmembershipgrowth.com is the best way to get Robert's video series, which explains the subscription ceiling and how to maximize your recurring cash flow. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you to everybody for coming today. Thanks for asking questions. And if you think of anything else that you want to ask, please post it in the comments section, and I'll make sure that I reach out to Robert and make sure that he sees it as well, and we'll answer in the comments. So feel free to, if there's other stuff that occurs to you after we're done, please feel free. And if you want to hear more of these kinds of conversations, you can follow me to be notified in advance when they happen. So follow me on LinkedIn. Or go to LinkedIn to see the recordings. And if you go to the little search box, you can do hashtag RKB. Those are my initials, hashtag RKB Live. And you will see all of the past events will all pop up. So thanks again, and see you next time. Thanks, Robert.
Oh, it's been an honor. Thank you for having me.